There is no debating Michigan State must show us these three things in their opening game against Florida Atlantic. Guys, it is here. It is game day. Let's go!
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
5-hour energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. No offense, 5-Hour Energy. I know we just spoke nicely about you. Will not need you today, though. We are amped. We are ready for a kickoff. We know that you are too. Guys, if you are listening to this, it is official. We are within 24 hours of Spartans versus Owls. We get to talk about actual games. If you're driving up to Spartan Stadium right now, cannot thank you enough for making us part of your game day routine right here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, and let's just get right into the show here. Oh, man, I've been looking forward to this one for a very long time. To kick things off, we're going to talk about the three things that are just non-negotiables for Friday night. We have to see these line items be accomplished by Michigan State against a group of 5 team in Florida Atlantic. They went 4-8 last year. They saw a mass exodus in the transfer portal, and like Michigan State, whole lot of new players on their team, including a quarterback. Okay, but guys, hey, let's talk about our side of the ball right here, our Michigan State Spartans, because number one, hey, stop the run. Yeah, well, no kidding. That's going to be a line item for every single game. But why is this important for week one? Well, yeah, does it help to win? Sure, certainly. But more importantly, it's going to give us, the fans, a nice foreshadowing moment of what can come the rest of the season. Now, look, this is most likely a strength for Michigan State. We've talked about the linebacking room being a strength for this team, specifically in the run-stopping category, all right? You know, Jordan Turner, Cal Halliday, Jordan Hall, they're going to clog up the lanes and add some thumps to the other team's running backs all season, okay? We're not worried about that. It's also likely going to be a weakness for Florida Atlantic. And you know what, guys? One of the big question marks going into the season is Michigan State's front four, right? Whether it's the pass rush, whether it's, hey, the 2 starting defensive tackles, Maverick Hansen and Daquan Dowse, can they bring it every single game? Regardless, you're the Power 4 team right here. They are the Group of 5 team. No matter how big the question mark is, you should be able to out-muscle them in the trenches right off the bat. And, well, let's just talk about those Florida Atlantic weaknesses here for a little bit. They got a good center, all right? Federico Merengues, okay? And outside of him, well, it's some new linemen, okay? They've got a guard, one that's a redshirt freshman that has never played college football, and another's a senior who was just a rotational guy last year. Their tackles is a third stringer from Florida State last year who transferred in, okay? And then another rotational guy. They also lost their top 2 running backs from last year. So this is all to say, plainly the evidence is there that Michigan State should have the wickedly upper hand in this matchup. And if Florida Atlantic runs the ball with success, okay, that's a little bit of a concern moving forward here. You might be leaving this game Friday night thinking, uh-oh. Now, if they accomplish this, does it mean that, oh, yeah, that's right, we are just going to be stalwarts on defense in the run game the rest of the season? No, but, you know, you pass a test. And this is kind of going to go into point number 2 that we have to see. It is moving the ball painlessly on the ground. Okay, this is another example of if you're successful, cool, like that's what you're supposed to do. That's kind of your job. But if you fail, well, then yikes. And we kind of saw this last year, guys, right? Against Central Michigan. When your first game is against a Group of 5 opponent, one of the big takeaways you could have is how will the trenches look? Now, last year, on paper, Michigan State against the Chippewas, they ran for 4.1 yards per carry. That's okay. But you got to go further than just that number because there was only 7 runs in that game that went for at least 5 yards. You should be doing a lot more damage against a Group of 5 defense. And who else remembers this? God, I almost threw my popcorn on the field with this last year. They got stuffed on 4th and 1 right off the bat in that game. And, well, wouldn't you know it, that was a theme that continued to happen throughout the entire year, is getting jammed up on short yardage situations because, well, if you couldn't do it against Central, yeah, no kidding, they couldn't do it against Big Ten teams. So, yes, guys, just like the last topic that we talked about, being able to stop the run, being able to run the ball against Florida Atlantic with somewhat of ease. I'm not going to say they're going to scamper for 8 yards per carry, but you should be able to get stuff done. Like, it's kind of like that report card grade that you would get back in middle school for gym class, right? Like, okay, let's say you move the ball, you get an A. Cool. Like that again is what you are supposed to do. Like, we're not going to pop champagne on the show here. We're not going to call it, hey, you know what, mission accomplished for the entire season. But you walk away from that game, okay, doing what you were supposed to do. Now, if you get a C- in gym class, or if you get a C- in this run game, and you do get stuffed on some short yardage situations, you don't have as many explosive runs as you're supposed to have against a group of 5 team, well, then what's going to happen against, Maryland, a team that's also going to be solid defensively, or the Ohio State, Oregon, the Iowas of the world, the Michigans of the world, like, yeah, that's going to be a cause for concern, kind of with how it was last year against Central Michigan, walking away from that game. Now, look, when it comes to Michigan State's run defense versus Florida Atlantic's run offense that we just talked about, and how it's going to be pretty lopsided on paper, maybe this won't be as lopsided because Florida Atlantic on their front 6, all 6 of those players returned from last year. So there is a high level of floor for the Florida Atlantic Owls here, but still, again, guys, you're the Big Ten team. They're the group of 5 team. It should be a one-sided battle. Let's stick with the offensive line here for the third thing that we absolutely have to see Friday night under the lights in Spartan Stadium, and that is good pass protection. I know that, hey, a lot of this might seem obvious that, yeah, you want to protect your quarterback, you want to stop the run, you want to run the ball, but we're adding pass protection because this is a question mark going into the season, guys, right? Like, it hasn't been great shakes on offensive line here in East Lansing the last few years. Yes, you got Tanner Miller, you got Luke Newman, 2 really good transfer linemen. But for the other guys, is it going to be just fine this year, or is it going to be, a positive? Now, you need to see good pass protection because just like we said, FAU, their front 6, massive experience. They all come back from that defense last year. I do want to throw this out. They graded 45th out of the 61 group of 5 teams at pass rush per Pro Football Focus. So, yes, they all come back, but it's not like it's going to be hell in a cell there, or at least it wasn't last year. So it's a good test for Michigan State, but again, one they should win. This is going to be another one where if Aidan Chiles has to scamper out of the pocket, or if he just doesn't look comfortable the entire night, you can leave this game maybe having a sideways eye of, what's to come here if it wasn't a smooth night against that team from Boca Raton. So, look, it's not just keeping Aidan Chiles healthy. It's not just making sure he doesn't get absolutely blown to smithereens early on in the game and miss any time. It's giving him the confidence in the pocket very early on. This is one of the things that, hey, young quarterbacks, young dual-threat quarterbacks might use as a crutch too often, and that's their own legs, bailing out of pockets way too early before the play can even fully materialize. Well, give him a reason to trust the pocket early on. If he feels the pressure on his heels against the Owls, well, next week when we play a really solid team on the road in Maryland, a team that has a really solid defense coming back, what do you think is going to happen? Like, he's going to be out of that pocket in 1.3 seconds. It's not going to be a fun evening. So, who is eating up the most pressure this week? It's that offensive line, guys. They got to show us that they can get some run lanes going on, some pass protection going on, and yes, the run defense. Just show yourselves as a strength early on to not just win the game. But hey, let's all go into the rest of our Labor Day weekend without some concerns here, right, guys? Like, that'd be nice. We don't want stress. Okay, we all know that stress is going to happen here, at least if you're like me and you freak out against any opponent, but let's just keep it a lower level of stress. We got tons more to talk about, including your quarterback we're going to spend some time on here. Yes, Mr. Aidan Chiles. But first, guys, fuel up for the season with Factor Foods. Now, it's no mess meals, and hey, they will let you meet your wellness goals thanks to their chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. No matter how busy you are, hey, you know what? You can enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. All that takes is just the length of a commercial break during these games to get your meal ready. With 35 meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you will always find new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this September with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Head over to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use code LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LOCKEDONCollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Also, guys, keep your vehicle the MVP this season with eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you are looking for. And guys, best of all, with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or it's your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home the huge win. So what are you waiting for out there? Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And again, guys, thank you so much for making Locked On Spartans part of your game day routine. Let's say you still got some time with your drive after this episode. Go ahead and make Locked On College Football your second listen. Our host, Spencer McLaughlin, yes, he talks conference realignment, NIL, transfer portal, but hey, guys, we actually have games to talk about. Again, Locked On College Football, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I got to say, we're going to get into Aidan Chiles here in a little bit, but just let the fan in me talk, and just the borderline mentally deranged fan in me talk really quick, because it's no secret that we all get excited for opening night. All right, every single week one, there's a mystique in the air. There's an energy. The team is still undefeated. The vibes are high, but I don't know, guys. Maybe you're like this too. Maybe you're not. Feel free to let me know in the comments below or at lockedonspartans@gmail.com, but I feel like this is a 12 out of 10 excitement level right now. I'm excited to watch meaningful football again in East Lansing. And of course, I think a lot of this coincides with what happened last year, right? I think everyone, or at least maybe 95% of fans, had this moment. Maybe you're part of the 5% that is truly just a diehard and really optimistic. But eventually at some point last year, you kind of realized that the season was going nowhere. Maybe it was after that Washington game where they lost by 200 points. Maybe it was that Iowa game. Maybe it was as long as that Rutgers game later that year. But eventually you're kind of thinking, even the wins won't mean anything. This isn't really going anywhere. Now, that's not to say we didn't care during the games or that we didn't watch anymore. Of course we did, but even the wins against Indiana and Nebraska, you kind of left thinking, that was fun. Not sure if that really means anything, but guys, I'm excited to watch this week. I will be watching this game as if it's a late November Big Ten clash to get into a college football playoff or the conference title game. I am going to live and die with every snap, whether it's a blowout, whether we're going into triple overtime, whatever it is. I am very excited for opening week every year, but God, this one has just a little bit more on it because of what this means for the restart of the program. And guys, for the better part of the last 11 months, not a lot of smiles have been had. Not a lot of serious football has been played, but it is back. And guys, the excitement starts with the quarterback. That's right. Arguably the biggest offseason storyline here in East Lansing, Aidan Chiles, right? We've been talking him up. Of course we have. All offseason. There's a reason this cat was ranked the number 2 overall transfer quarterback in the nation last year. He's got the legs. He's got the cannon of an arm. And, well, he's got the eligibility, too. He's here for at least 2 more years of eligibility, which is nice. 3 if he really wants it. But nevertheless, as excited as we are, We're going to try to heed Jonathan Smith's advice here, and that is just patience. Okay, have excitement, but also have patience. Now, in the first segment, we just talked about things that, hey, if you accomplish them, great. Whoop-de-doo, really, because that's what you're supposed to do against a group of 5 team. And if you don't do it, well, it's time to panic. I think it's almost kind of the opposite here with Aidan Chiles, where if he struggles, I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think that, we could throw our hands up in the air and say, oh my God, is it too late to go in the transfer portal and get another guy? Like, no, this is going to be part of the patience. However, if he does succeed, if he does look pretty good, then we can actually walk away from this game thinking, wow, that's a higher baseline than we thought that we were going to be starting the season with. This, well, now 18, soon to be 19-year-old true sophomore quarterback. If he struggles, again, not the end of the world, because, well, we've seen sophomores take over as a new starter in East Lansing and struggle earlier on. We got to scale the clock back 11 years to 2013 when Connor Cook took over. That was a very slow start for that offense. It took a little bit to build, but guys, there's so many reasons that it could be sputtering here early on. And this isn't to make excuses for Aidan early on. Like, these are all legitimate reasons why, hey, it could be a slow start. First and foremost, hey, quarterback is a hard position to play. Like, yes, he got some experience at Oregon State last year, but just 100 snaps. What is it going to be like with a full game as a starter? Well, especially with new receivers that you have to break in-game chemistry with. It's going to be a sold-out crowd. The immense pressure of just coming in as a captain, as that top-ranked quarterback in the transfer portal, like, that is a lot hanging over him. So if it is a little rocky, I would not just chalk up the season as a loss. Just be a little patient. Now, I will say this. If we go through the first 4 games of the year, and yeah, we're looking at 8 interceptions, 5 touchdowns. He's making horrific decisions with the ball. He's not sliding at all. He's just trying to get blown up by linebackers. Okay, we'll check in a month and then maybe be a little concerned about the long-term outlook of this season and maybe his career. But guys, this first game, I think it's all gravy right now. If he looks the part, if he stays in the pocket, if he can connect early with his new receivers, if I made a mention to this just now, if he slides and doesn't sign himself up for getting blown up by the defense, this is all positive. So I think really for Aidan Chiles, barring anything crazy like a 6 interception game and he accidentally hands the ball off to a defensive tackle instead of Nathan Carter, like there is a scenario where it is that bad, but I find it really hard to believe that it could get so bad that we are going to panic about the long term of the season ahead. Now, this was interesting from earlier this week, the media availability. This tweet comes from Kenny Jordan of Spartan Mag, saying that Jonathan Smith on Aidan Chiles to end his press conference. He said this, quote, he'll be confident in the opening plays because he'll weigh in on what those plays are. Then he needs to just go and let it rip. So interesting that the quarterback has some input on those, what they call scripted plays, the first set of 10 or 15 plays that you get any given Saturday, or in this case, Friday. But yeah, Aidan Chiles with some input in the offense early on. Now, Ryan Cole, as we get into mailbag questions here in a little bit, he asked, what should we expect from Chiles on the ground? Design runs, scrambles? Should we want him to avoid running so he can stay healthy? Now, last year, not just Aidan Chiles, but also DJ Uyunglele over at, Oregon State under Jonathan Smith and Brian Lindgren. Both of them combined, it was about 1 out of every 10 plays was a design run for the quarterback. So it's not like he's going to be putting, 18 rush attempts on the ground early on, especially this early on in the season when you're trying to keep him healthy. So something like that. Yes, there will be design runs for him, but it might not be as often as you think. So just to, have a baseline level of thought for Aidan Chiles running, we're looking at last year for that. Again, you got to go down and be smart. If you're close to a sideline, let's just go ahead and step out of bounds. If you are in the middle of the field and you got 3 guys that are looking to send your head to the 40th row of section 16, might be smart just to do a little baseball slide and move on to the next play instead of try to fight a losing battle for extra yards here. We are going to get to more mailbag questions here, but first, we're going to go through 2 rule changes to college football this year. The first one, in-helmet coach-to-player communication. Now, if you're in the stands, you might not even recognize this, but 1 player on each side of the ball will have a helmet with communication on the inside, almost like a radio communication with the coaches. So Rossi spoke about this in his press conference earlier this week with the media, and acknowledged that the thing he's most concerned about is making sure there's just one guy with a green dot on the helmet. That's going to be the designated guy on the field at the same time, saying that there could be moments this season where there's no one on the field because, well, they'd rather err on the side of caution and have no one with the green dot than have two and take a penalty. So with this, the coaches can talk to the players up until there's 15 seconds left on the play clock. That's both for offense and defense. And it was interesting that Rossi spoke to one of his former players that currently plays in the NFL and wears one of these helmets. The top piece of advice he got: do not over talk. Do not flood the player's mind with so many thoughts. Like, yes, you can say, hey, you know what? Here's the play. Also, watch out for this blitzer right now. He's going to be coming. Or, hey, watch out for him coming in motion. You can talk up until 15 seconds left. The other one that we want to point out here, this is what you will feel as a fan, is the 2-minute warning. For some reason, they're calling it the 2-minute timeout in college football. It is the same exact thing as a 2-minute warning in the NFL. They just had to be weird about it and give it another name. So those are the two rule changes we wanted to talk about before we get into mailbag questions. But first, guys, need to talk your ears about 5-Hour Energy. And yeah, we said that, you know what, might not be 5-Hour Energy today, but my goodness gracious, I know that when I wake up on Saturday, we might be using some 5-Hour Energy here because we're going to have to get off the mat because there's another full slate of Saturday games. Now, let's say that you're on your way to the tailgate. You're already starting to feel a little groggy here. Well, guys, one of the best parts of 5-Hour Energy is just how easy it is to tuck away. This thing is convenient, it's portable, and it's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done or bringing the noise on third down inside the stadium, all with zero sugar. And 5-Hour Energy, well, their website has flavors galore. We are talking watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, so much more. There is a flavor for everyone, so try them all. And on the website, we'll stock up for the season. You have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and bang, it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and gets a 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th, and on one order and cannot be used with any other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, so head over to 5hourenergy.com today. Folks, Home Field Apparel, they will make you the best dressed person at the stadium, at the tailgate, at the sports bar, in your own living room, wherever you are going to rock Home Field Apparel. You are going to thank yourself. Get ready for kickoff with their Can't Miss Kickoff 2024 campaign. Guys, they got the best t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, crew neck sweatshirts, hoodies. They even have hats too. Whatever you get, you're going to treat yourself to a vintage logo that they have in their Rolodex, and maybe not even just for Michigan State. Maybe you're a Kennesaw State fan. Well, yeah, they have all sorts of schools, and not only does it look sensational, guys, this is the most comfortable clothing I have in my closet. It feels like an angel is hugging me whenever I'm rocking Home Field Apparel. Better yet, with Home Field Apparel, they want to start saving you money right off the bat when you head to homefieldapparel.com. Smash in promo code on Spartans. And if you're a first-time customer, that's 15% off your first order. Again, guys, go check out their Michigan State apparel. All sorts of other colleges over at homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code on Spartans for 15% off your first order. All right, let's dive into the mailbag here because plenty of questions from earlier this week. Thank you very much. Reach out. Sheehan_sports on Twitter or lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Professor writes in, give me an unexpected contributor on both sides of the ball. Interesting question here because this answer is dependent on what kind of a fan you are. Like, are you part of the message board conglomerate? Are you an everyday listener of this show? Do you just bleed green and white so much so that your family is so sick of talking to you because you shoehorn MSU football into every conversation? Well, that can very well be the case. Or, hey, is this your first episode you're listening to because you haven't even thought about Michigan State football until this very moment and you just want a refresher? Well, this is what it depends on. So for the offensive side of the ball, guys, like for the fans that are just joining this season, I think Jerron Glover is a name you got to keep your eye out on. Like, he played sparingly last year, but as he's going to grow in his role. He's now the number 2 receiver going into this season. I think Jerron Glover is going to be a household name by the end of this month. Or moving down that list, you know what? Brennan Parachek. Okay, this is a tight end that should flourish under Brian Lindgren's system, or even Michael Masunis, because Brennan Parachek has been in and out this fall camp with injuries. Maybe it's going to be Michael Masunis that is the tight end behind Jack Velling in the pecking order. Regardless, this staff loves to use multiple tight end sets, so Brennan Parachek and Michael Masunis will be unexpected names if you guys don't already know them by now. Now, for the diehard fans, for the guys that know every single name on this roster, maybe it's wide receiver Jalen Smith. Young kid, redshirt freshman. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some moments this year. I don't think he'll have any games where it's 5 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown, but look, he can play sparingly this year. We've been hearing really good things about this kid from Texas. And earlier this week, it was let out that, you know what, Michigan State might rotate between 6 and 7 receivers coming up this season, or at least to start the season. Montorie Foster, Jerron Glover, Nick Marsh, those are your 3 starters right there. Alante Brown, Isaiah Johnson, Antonio Gates Jr., maybe Jalen Smith is that 7th guy in the mix there. Now for defense, again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, you haven't even caught any transfer news this offseason. Well, Wayne Matthews is a linebacker that is going to make a difference, especially in the pass coverage game. To ladder down, maybe you don't know Alex Van Sumeren because he has played so sparingly here. He did not play at all last year, but this is a kid 2 years ago, came into Michigan State as the Spartans' top commit defensive tackle. And hey, speaking of former 4-stars, former guys that are amongst the best in their state, Ben Roberts, a.k.a. Big Worm, transfer from Oregon. He was the top player in the state of Utah a few years ago. Can we get something out of them from defensive tackle? Now, I do wonder about Armarion Smith, too. This was like the niche guy is going to go for. Safety, showed up pretty well last year in a backup role. Of course, if you haven't heard the news, his mother passed very recently, and if that isn't just horrible and stressful enough as a college student, he's got 5 siblings that he just recently took guardianship over. So I don't even know if he's going to be on the field to start the season, but he was a strong performer in a backup role last year. That's who I would go with for like a niche kind of guy right there, Armarion Smith. But if it is a slow start to the year for him, and if he doesn't, produce it all this year, wildly understandable. A lot going on off the field in that kid's life. So sorry to kind of be a downer there at the end, but some context to go along with Armarion Smith. Maddie C writes in, do you think we come out guns blazing and hammer FAU, or is it more like last year? Oh, I will only be satisfied with a scorched earth policy. I do think it is going to be a little like last year, just because, both offenses really, I think just game style as a whole, both offenses might take a while to find their footing in this game. Right now, the side of the ball that's more established with both teams is the defense. So that's why I think it might be a slog. I will have a score prediction here at the end, but I think it'll be kind of slow out the gates. I hope I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at right now. GP Sparty writes in, what level of panic mode will Matt go into if we go down 3-0? I will not lie. My resting heart rate will spike to about 180 beats per minute. Should Florida Atlantic be the team to strike first? But no, panic, quote unquote, in the air quotes, that's going to set in if it's halftime and like FAU has moved the ball with ease and or MSU is stuck at like 10 points and it really seems like a grinding 10 points. Nothing's really working out so well. That's when I will be panicked. If Michigan State is down like 7+ points at halftime and they're just not moving the ball, or hey, Cam Fancher, the quarterback for the Owls, is just making life miserable for us, that's when I'm going to start to perspire a little bit here, and that's going to be a sweaty post-game episode of Locked on Spartans. Spencer writes in, would it be crazy to see K'Ron Lynch Adams ending up with a better season than Nate Carter? No, I would not use the word crazy at all. I suspect that Nate Carter will still be the starting running back. He will still get the slight edge in the lion's share of carries for running back, but is it out of the realm of possibility that K'Ron Lynch Adams ends the season with more carries, with more yards? No. I mean, I'll say this stat for the 100th time in the last few weeks. He had 800 yards after contact last year at UMass, okay? That's top 20 in the country. This kid, when he got hit, it almost woke him up, and he said, fine, I'll just go get 3.6 more yards after this. So really strong runner, just like Nate Carter. So I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility for him to jump Nate Carter. Do I expect it? No. But crazy? No, I don't think at all by any stretch of the imagination. Jack writes in, what will our first play look like? I actually looked back the last 3 years at Oregon State. Brian Lindgren has called a passing play the last 3 years. I think it's going to be the same this year. Something to get Chiles' feet wet, wet his whistle a little bit, get him something comfortable, not like a bomb 30 yards downfield, but maybe like a shallow screen, for example. And what that is, okay, so you bring the guy in motion. He's just behind the defensive line. Like, this isn't a play or a route that's going to go any further than 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Dump it off right to him. The ball should travel no more than 6 yards in the air. Just a nice little pitch and catch to get started. Or, hey, maybe draw something up, a nice little hitch route from Jack Velling, have him sit there in the middle of that defense 5 yards in and just, again, pitch and catch. Just something to get going. I don't think it'll be anything extreme, and I do think it will be a pass play. Caleb writes in, do you like the recent tradition of playing Friday night week 1? Caleb, I don't like it. I absolutely love it. It is the greatest because we talked about this the other day. It's like having that first game of March Madness. It's a puckering feeling when you wake up in the morning. Like, I'm very anxious right now just talking about the game. But you know what? You get it over with. You get to enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend, whether you're going up north or on vacation or have yard work to do, or if you do want to sit down and watch the rest of these games, you can just watch them without the looming presence of your game later on that night. Like, it is a really great way to have a stress-free Labor Day. Austin writes in, are you taking the over in the first game versus FAU? We did best bets yesterday. One of my best bets is under 45.5 this game. Everything we just talked about. Both offenses, kind of question marky. Both defenses kind of know where they're at. And, well, this was even before considering the weather. Right now, it looks kind of fringe if there will be any precipitation. But, yeah, we will see about that one. I'm going to go under because, well, as we go to the last question from Jackson, obviously we need a final score prediction. I'm going to go with your Michigan State Spartans 27, Florida Atlantic 13. That is what we are going to go with here, guys. No matter what it is, I don't care if it's quadruple overtime. I don't care if it's a 50-point blowout. I just need to see a Michigan State victory. You need to see a Michigan State victory. We all need to see a Michigan State victory because it has been way too long since we have genuinely all shared great smiles together on the football field. The new beginning is here. The restart to the program is here. The Jonathan Smith era is upon us. The season is here. My goodness gracious. I could get emotional right now. This is amazing. Guys, we'll be back. We'll be back. We are going to record pretty much right after the game here on YouTube. If you listen to it via podcast, we're going to try to get it within the hour after the game if you're driving home from Spartan Stadium. But yes, instant reaction because I will not be at the game, unfortunately. So that means all you have to be extra loud on third down. If not for yourselves, well, then do it for me, your favorite podcast host, or hopefully maybe even your top 50 favorite podcast hosts. Regardless, guys, I love you. You guys are all the best. The viewers, the listeners, take care of yourselves. Let's mix in a water today. Go green. Woo!